Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having a fantastic start to your Friday and getting ready for a nice, maybe productive weekend, maybe a getaway weekend. I don't know. But I definitely need to do a couple of things today, and that's why I'm live streaming. Number one is I need to hammer home the point that next week's challenge, boot camp, whatever we're going to be calling it, I call it my secret 5-day challenge, but it's basically sort of an online boot camp where you can jump on a Zoom call with me every single day, Monday through Friday. It's something that I definitely need to just put out the word as much as I possibly can, because I think what you guys are going to learn in this upcoming challenge is going to absolutely super boost some careers. Okay, so that's not just like an overstatement or just trying to sell it to you guys. The reason why I can be confident in saying that is because I know that the insights and the research and the analysis that you're going to get from this boot camp by me sharing with you 4 of my top recommended production music library companies is the kind of insight and analysis you just are not going to be able to find anywhere else, right? You can't Google search it. ChatGPT is going to be maybe marginally helpful for you. But I can tell you that for certain things, still, before we have AI taking over everything, for certain things, getting just sort of direct knowledge and wisdom and insights from another human being who's gone through the trenches, who's done the work, who's submitted and pitched to libraries, been rejected, also been accepted, and have a track record of now over 8,500 TV placements. You can learn a lot by following in the footsteps of somebody who's done all of this stuff well before you. So not only are you going to get that kind of insight from this challenge coming up, which, by the way, for all of you guys that are going to be tuning in, watching this live or afterwards, there's a link in the description box. You definitely can go check it out. It's absolutely free to enroll. I think we already have like about 200, 215, something like that, people that have already signed up for it. So it's going to be a nice, healthy crowd, nice big size crowd. So I'm really excited for that. But you'll get those 4 companies, of course. But more importantly, because maybe not one of those is going to be the exact right fit for you, maybe none of them will be the right fit for you and your music, I am going to try to recommend 4 companies that span various genres, though I want to make sure that everybody, hopefully, as many people as I can with different genres, will feel like one of those companies will be applicable. But even if, like, let's say you pitch out to one of them, they don't accept you, whatever. The bigger benefit from this bootcamp is going to be, how do you analyze a company? Like, how do you understand when you're doing your research and you're looking at a company, how do you know, is this a company that I should be pitching to? Is this a company that basically already contains some music of mine, of my style in there? Would my style of music get placed with their clients? How recent is this company doing work? How recent are their placements? How recent are their album releases? These are really, really important questions and really, really important data points that you should be paying attention to as you do your research. What most producers do is they hear about sync, they get excited about it, they think, oh, companies out there get TV placements for producers? Well, I've got music, I'm a producer, let me just throw my music out into whatever companies I stumble across in my first little Google search. And they just sort of spam them all, send them all out, even BCC or CC even, a lot of companies at once, and just kind of hope and see maybe something will stick. This is not a very smart approach. It's not a very professional approach. And it's one of the main reasons why I think you could probably say that, 95% of producers don't make it in sync, is because they're not treating it like a serious business. They're just treating it like a lottery ticket. Like, let me just throw my tracks over here. Nothing else in my career has generated income. Maybe I'll just throw it over in sync and see if something magically, miraculously happens there. It's a very foolish move. Don't do it. So if you have been facing rejection, or no responses at all from libraries, and or you don't even know where to get started, maybe you've done a little bit of research yourself, you have a couple of companies, not exactly sure if you should be reaching out to them. How do you know if your tracks are really ready to pitch to these companies? How do you know if your type of music would really do well with them? Because these are the important things that really make or break a lot of people's careers. That's why I say next week's challenge is going to super boost a lot of people's careers. Producers that throw their music into any library or some library that they think is, I would feel like a success if I got my music accepted by, an Extreme Music or an APM or a Universal or, even some of these larger companies. I understand the appeal to that. But there is this sense of, I'll feel like a success if I'm in this company because I just, have this value that this is the majors, this is a really high quality company. If my music is accepted, then I'm going to do great. And what happens is they're pitching music that's maybe licensable, maybe okay, maybe the library likes it, so they accept it, but it's not necessarily relevant for the TV clients that a company is pitching to and working with right now. So the library might take music that they're like, hey, this is cool. We don't really have a need for it right now, but we might like in 2 years, 5 years, and we're kind of wanting to build up that side of our catalog. We're kind of short on that. So we want to have a little bit more of an option for some of our clients down the road. You don't want to be one of those producers. I'm going to just tell you that. You do not want to be a producer that's helping a catalog build up something, some reserve style of music just in case one of their clients needs it in a couple of years. That's a huge gamble. Might not be a huge risk for the library because they've already got a whole bunch of other songs and other, a big chunk of their catalog that's actively getting placements and actively getting them royalties. So they can take a little bit of a risk over here, maybe spending some money, some consideration fees, or just time and energy building up another side of the catalog just in case they can kind of start to fit it in with their overall strategy. But you don't have that luxury. Like, you don't have that other set of tracks that are constantly getting tracks now, placements now, so you can go experiment with new styles and see if you can build it up. That's not a smart, productive place for you, the producer or the composer, to be. This is one of these small little areas where libraries and composers and producers can have conflicting, separate interests, right? There's a lot of shared interests for sure. They become our partners in so many ways, vital ways. But in some ways, our interests can conflict. And so some composers that I have heard of over the years that are saying, hey, I've been doing this for 3 years, 5 years. I literally have made nothing or a couple of thousand after many years of doing this. Almost every single time, as I have done my due diligence, doing some search into what they're doing, I kind of had this whole sort of experiment I was running a couple months back on the channel, asking those of you that were in that position to email me so I could listen to your music, see what catalogs you're with, so I can do a personal deep dive to find out what's going on. Every single time, there was something that the producer and the composer could be doing differently to steer themselves in a much more profitable path. Every single time, they were either making music that wasn't licensable, they were spread out all over the place, too thin. They might have been working with companies that probably weren't the best fit for their particular style. There were just always something. I know that there's a sense of we don't have a lot of control in this industry. That's definitely true. You can't control whether or not a library is going to place you, accept you, get you placements. Obviously, we all know that. That's other people behind the scenes making those choices. But you better believe that you have a lot of control and a lot of power for which company you partner with, right? That's up to you. You get to decide where do you pitch your tracks, right? And you also get to decide how you structure your tracks, how you put your tracks together, and make sure that the stuff that you're putting together is the most licensable and, most importantly, the most relevant for the particular companies that you partner with. So I hope I'm making that point very clear, that if you just take a little bit of time, a little bit, and I'm asking you guys to give me essentially an hour a day next week. That's really all I'm asking you for. 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon to 1 p.m. Eastern time. Hour a day. It's going to be a Zoom call that once you go through this, not only will you see exactly how I'm going to, recommend these companies for you, but the analysis for why these companies are legitimate companies and what types of music or what types of composers, producers would work well with them. But we will also be doing some track reviews on the calls for those of you that want to show up, okay? So I can't guarantee everybody will get a track review, especially if we have 200 plus people showing up. Obviously, that's not feasible within an hour. But I'll do my best to try to, give a good, sampling of many different people's tracks. And try to give you guys, again, some insights as to whether or not I feel like your tracks are ready to be pitched to these companies, or if not, what you can do to take some meaningful steps to get closer to getting your tracks ready. We're also going to have a guest speaker, Todd Andrew, who is a six-figure sync licensing producer. He's actually a composer that I came up with way back in the day, back in 2008. Pretty much, I think, probably the first composer producer I ever met in this business who was doing this as well. Who has secured many themes for Disney, NBC, and Fox Sports. He's going to join us one of the days, and also not only give us his insights, his wisdom, kind of how he does what he does to sustain his career, but also he's going to help out with some reviews, some track reviews during that session, that call as well. So not only will you get some of my feedback, you're going to get some of Todd's feedback as well. So this is going to be an action-packed week. You better bring something to take notes with. I highly recommend it, or even just take screenshots if you want to. That's totally fine as well. I think I'm going to maybe stream the first session on YouTube here. So you guys will basically be able to, hey, what's up, Alvaro? Glad to see you're going to join us, man. You guys will be able to watch it probably here on YouTube, and I'll keep it up. But Tuesday through Friday, all of that's just going to be for the members that want to show up and participate with the Zoom calls. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be great. I remember we did something similar to this last year. It was another kind of 5-day boot camp. And I remember sending out a sort of feedback request, a form essentially afterwards to all the attendees, and asked you guys What did you like? What did you didn't like? What did you not like? What could we do differently next time? What was beneficial? And definitely got some great feedback from you guys for what we could do to make it stronger. And I've kind of been reviewing that recently just to see, okay, what was going on last time? What can we do differently this time to make it even more engaging, more useful, more valuable for you guys? But we definitely got a large number of really high quality and just high marks and high feedback saying this was really helpful, very insightful. I feel way more empowered. I feel way more encouraged. And I feel like I can actually do something to improve my odds of success in this business. And if you guys come to this boot camp, that's my promise to you, right? And it's absolutely free to join us. So Thomas, good to see you, man. If you guys want to join us, it's absolutely free. And I can guarantee you, if you stick with us, right? This is not something you just come in for 5 minutes and expect a benefit. But if you stick with us, you kind of see how the sausage is made, so to speak. I'll show you exactly how I analyze these companies and why I recommend the ones that I do to our current students. I hope, and that's my promise and my wish for you guys to show up, is that by Friday, you're going to have a much more confident feeling in yourself and a much more, and not just like hope and wish and, just vibes essentially, but really because you've gone through this sort of step-by-step process for how do you analyze a company? How do you find them? How do you know whether or not your tracks really are the right ones for them? This will seem way less, I think, daunting to you. It'll seem way less confusing, way less overwhelming. And more importantly, I want you to feel extremely, extremely confident and encouraged that you can actually do this for yourself. So if you are maybe new to my channel or you may be new to Sync My Music or anything like that, I want you guys to know that my big sort of guiding principle with everything that I do, with all of my videos, with all of my services, with this boot camp, with everything going on. Yellow, what's up, man? My guiding principle is I want to help empower people like you, producers and composers with home studios, to directly partner with production music libraries or other decision makers in this industry, whoever they may be. I am not a fan of middleman shopping services. I am not a fan of anybody between you and the people that you're going to have a partnership with to create sustainable income for yourself. You don't need them. And I think, in fact, in many ways, the only path for this to become sizable, reliable, consistent income for yourself is to have direct relationships with CEOs of production music libraries and decision makers that really do know you personally, have your email, have your phone number, jump on regular Zoom calls with you, and actually care about you as a human being, okay? And they're not seeing you as just another one of their customers that they're throwing out like a pitching opportunity to, or one of those cattle call companies, right? You need to have direct relationships. There's definitely an element of this industry, and I think a big key part of it is it's a people business. We were actually just having a great conversation with Tom Geyer on my channel earlier this week about that. Libraries, we don't think of it as like this is going to make a big difference, but Yella, you can tell me how true this is if you're still watching. And Yella's partnered with pretty much the biggest of the business, best of the business. You name it, he's in there. He's a workaholic. He's working too much, actually. But because Yella has these direct relationships and he's also invested in flying out and meeting these people and having Zoom calls and all that kind of stuff, the people that he works with care about him. They want to see him win. Oftentimes, it takes time to work your way into the inner circle of some of these libraries and these publishers and these catalogs. But once you do, they want to see you win, especially if they like you. They think that you're a team player. They think that you're really talented. They love your music. They know about your family. They know about your obligations. They know a lot more about you than just, all right, I'm pitching music and here's my name, here's my email, and here's some music, right? There's a human being and a personality behind the emails interactions he's having with these library owners, and you guys, I want you to have that as well. Those relationships and those kind of like, hey, that's my guy, that's my boy, that's my girl. Those are the people that I can count on. That richness of a human relationship is what causes a lot of times people like Yella and others to have direct insights and direct contacts and direct opportunities to pitch to custom briefs and custom maybe big sync fee opportunities that not everybody on the catalog gets access to. Certainly not everybody on the internet is going to be getting access to that, or anybody that pays for some sort of a pitching service is going to get access to that kind of stuff. Not happening, okay? Really high quality briefs and with great opportunities are only getting shared with a small select number of people with personal direct relationships. That is the key, and that is the truth, and that is the reality of the sync licensing business. So my whole goal, my whole 10,000 foot view, what I'm doing this for is hopefully trying to give you guys the resources, the knowledge, the education, whatever it is, to make those own direct connections for yourself. I've never pitched music for anybody. I don't want to ever pitch music for anybody. I'm not in that business at all. It's not interesting to me at all. I am way more interested and I'm way more excited to hear from you guys when you email me. And I've, the ones that I've gotten throughout the years here on the channel through Sync My Music's history are absolutely the best payday in the world of, hey, Jesse, I used your resources. I reached out to this library. I'm working with them now. And I've gotten briefs from them now. And I'm starting to see placements. Like that's music, literally music to my ears. That the beautiful gifts of this industry and what it provided for me, getting me out of the 9-to-5 work world, getting me away from having to work for bosses. Again, don't want to make over promises saying it's going to happen for everybody. It is not. It's going to happen for maybe 3 to 5% of you. It's a small number. Yella's one of them. Yella, if you can join us next week, maybe you can jump on the chat. I'm sure we could pick your brain as well. Feel free to do so if you'd like to. But and he's even saying now, absolutely true. The personal touch in this digital world is becoming more and more important. When I started, I constantly had to ask for projects, but because of trust buildings, those libraries are pitching their projects to me now. That's what Yella is telling you guys right now. So absolutely, you've got to have these personal, direct relationships. And so, lost my train of thought there, but that's next week. What we're going to do is basically show you guys, I think, the way to, first of all, get yourself into the door. That's, obviously step one, a very important step one, is getting access to production music libraries, pitching to them the professional way, the right way. And I think you guys are going to learn how to do that next week during this free camp. So once you get in, though, and that's where I think a lot of false expectations can creep in, is, hey, I'm in a library now, so therefore I've made it, right? Like I'm good, everything's good. Well, not so fast. Okay, so getting into a library doesn't really guarantee obviously anything. Now you've got your foot in the door, which is obviously a crucial and very important, and you should be celebrating it. We'll celebrate it with you as well. The great step, step one, and we're gonna give you a big pat on the back and cheers and all that good stuff. But now is where your real test happens, right? So once you're in the door, what do you do to get yourself into that inner circle? As Yella was just saying, that, for the longest time, he was constantly trying to ask, hey, can I be useful? Can I pitch to you? What can I do? What can I do? And after time, he worked his way into the point where they're now reaching out to him to say, hey, we got this opportunity. We got this. We got this. I'm sure, Yella, there's times where you have so many that you have to pick and choose, like, all right, which both great, both, thankful for both, but there's only so many hours in the day. I got to decide where I'm going to go. And that's the kind of problem I want you guys to all have. I want you guys to have so much work coming at you, so many opportunities coming at you, that you get to pick and choose. This week, I'm feeling a little bit more like this is my thing I want to work on, or I really feel like some upfront money would be nice right now, and I think I have a good shot at nailing this. Whatever it is, custom queue, something like that for a sync fee. I'm gonna go for that. I want you guys to have that option, to be able to do that, but you don't get that option until you have, again, a direct relationship, until you have a personal direct relationship and a consistent ongoing relationship with the people that you're going to be partnered with. So that's what we want to help you guys do. That's what we're going to go for next week. So if you guys, I think we have about 23 of you guys watching. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and saying hi this morning, this afternoon, wherever you guys in the world. If you guys have any questions about the bootcamp, about the challenge, about what we're going to be doing next week, feel free to pop it in the chat below. I want to hang out here for maybe about an hour. I am also, alongside of promoting the event, I am warming my voice up. I am famously terrible at talking for a long period of time. I think for my low voice, it gets really sore after a while. So this is me going to the gym vocally to get my voice a little bit more ready and prepared, because next week, not only am I going to be doing 5 days, an hour each minimum, and we might be going over each day, but then Saturday I have a live review session with pro feedback members. So I have another hour. So basically 6 days in a row where I know it sounds weird for you guys that have been following me for a while. You're like, well, Jesse, you just talk all day long. That's all I hear is you talking. This is pretty much the only time in my day, other than maybe a phone call or two, that I do a lot of talking. So other than this, I'm a pretty quiet person, actually. I'm pretty introverted, and I do a lot of my processing in my mind. I think a lot, actually. This is one of the few times you actually do see me talking, but our relationship is obviously me getting on camera and blabbing for hours and hours and hours. But because I don't do it that often, I got to always have this warm-up phase. So, hey, Isomatic, good to see you. Pick and choose. Yella says he just does everything and get a massive burnout at 40. Yeah. So who is the workaholic now? Yeah, well, definitely me, for sure. I'm getting better at it, but yeah, no, I definitely have a, my problem is really just getting comfortable not doing anything. That's where my weakness is. And I don't mean like, I don't have to be here in my office doing like this kind of work. if I'm at home, if I'm doing the dishes, if I'm mowing the lawn, if I'm trimming the trees, if I'm, doing all the sort of like, house errands, house chores, that kind of thing, I feel like I'm getting stuff done. So I kind of calm that kind of anxiety of like, I got to be productive. I got to do something, right? So it's what I struggle with is just like sitting in my backyard and not having to do anything. And it's like, probably should be doing something, right? I think what's helped me actually is that, when I'm looking after the kids, I'm obviously doing something really important, keeping an eye on them. So even if I'm not doing much, I'm just sitting there. At least I have that part of me of going like, well, I'm keeping an eye on the kids. That's something that's obviously worthwhile, something that's really worth my time. So that's where my struggle is for sure. So I'm getting better at it though. Meditation definitely is one of those things that's I'm not great at, but I've slowly been getting more and more proficient at it and learning how to use it when I need to calm down that kind of constant busy voice of like, you got to go, and it's like, no, you don't always have to go. Sometimes you can just rest. But learning how to rest, it's actually a skill that I'm just now, at 40, still learning how to do. So, hey, Art, good to see you. Glad you're going to be showing up. Cool. I'm assuming you already signed up. Glad to hear that. Very cool. Aaron, I think you said you were going to be joining us too. That'd be really cool. I think you had said that before, but maybe not. But yeah, it's going to be a great time, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you too. One thing also, the first thing that we're going to do for those of you guys that are going to show up on Monday is I am going to ask you what you're struggling with. We did that last year, and I think that's the best way to start this off, because I don't really always know exactly where everybody is at in their careers, and I have kind of put you guys in 3 different buckets, which I feel like roughly sort of summarizes everybody. You probably fit into one of these buckets. Number 1, you haven't pitched yet to libraries, or maybe you have and you've gotten rejected, but either way, you are still kind of in this, I need to get a product ready to go. I need to make music that is going to be accessible and, usable and marketable to libraries. So you're kind of in the very beginning stages. Doesn't mean you just started yesterday. You might be a couple of months in, maybe even a year or 2 in, but you're like, I don't know if my product is really ready yet. My music is really ready yet to pitch off and hand off to a library yet, because either I've been rejected or I'm a little bit nervous or uncertain if I should be kind of pulling the trigger yet. That's camp 1. And there's definitely a lot of struggle there, because just the uncertainty alone and the fear of rejection, like just those 2 alone, like that's everything, and not really sure and being worried and concerned. And I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of producers do want to go with a pitching service, because that kind of solves that problem of like, well, I'm not really being rejected because I'm not directly pitching to anybody. I might be rejected in terms of like, man, my track didn't get, onto this brief or forwarded along to the client, but maybe it kind of takes that sting out a little bit so I can understand the sort of appeal to that. But I'm just telling you, serious producers have to face the rejection. And it's not the end of the world. You're not going to die. It won't hurt you. It's not going to harm your health. It might stress you out a little bit and really piss you off. So mentally, it's not going to be a fun game. But you can get through it. We all have to face it at one point or another. But we definitely need to, I think, if we're going to be serious and we want to sort of, get into a direct relationship, it's like no pain, no gain, right? No risk, no reward. You do need to put yourself out there. So, but there's a lot of very understandable, empathetic, anxiety and uncertainty in that first camp. Second camp is maybe that some of you guys are in a library or 2, but not seeing the results you want. Or maybe your expectations were like, I expected by this point I was going to be earning X, Y, or Z dollars. I'm not earning that, or I'm not earning anything, right? So there might be a lot of uncertainty and fear of, did I focus on the wrong career? And I struggled with that pretty much for every royalty check for the first 5-6 years, something like that. It wasn't until 6th year, somewhere in there, my royalties jumped up to the point where I was like, okay, I can sigh a little bit of a relief that this is going to be able to pay me, get my bills paid. I can rely on this kind of thing. And I didn't make the wrong choice. But you better believe those first few years was like, yeah, I wonder if I could go back to work doing this or that, or maybe I should do that. And I definitely had, independent work, independent contract. I had a lot of other things that were supplementing my income for the first couple of years, because royalties that's the nature of the game. It's just like a slow moving snowball, and you never know when that sort of breakthrough is going to happen for you. And I wish I could tell you guys, just hang in there. It's going to happen in year 5. That's ridiculous. Nobody's going to give you that guarantee. I can't guarantee you that, right? For some members, it's very quick. We had, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name right now. Anthony. Can't remember his last name, though. Yella. Who am I thinking of? The guy that you met at the PMC who jumped up his royalties from like around like 200. It was like 200 for a quarter, and then it was up almost 10,000. So he was on my channel. I'm embarrassed. I'm blanking on his name right now. Anyways, somebody like him can happen, right? But for others, it takes a lot longer. So there's certainly this kind of element of that. It's very scary to be even in a catalog and in a library, but not seeing the results that you want, because you're going to be second guessing yourself, wondering, should you keep going, should you not go? Hey, Alex, good to see you, man. And I was definitely there. So that's another camp. The third camp is probably you're in one, two, probably multiple libraries, and you're earning income, but maybe you're wondering, can I step it up? Anthony Crawford, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes. Yella, you got me, man. I'm just hire you to be my stream assistant here. It is, see, Yella, you see what I'm saying right now? This sucks that I can't just pull you in here, right? Yeah, because they don't have that in YouTube. For a while, I remember they were rolling that out and saying maybe you could like have collaborative whatever, and they don't have it, so it sucks. But it would be great to be able to just like, hey, Yella, come on here, let's talk for 5 minutes. That's, I don't know. Hopefully one of these days YouTube can add that feature. But some of you are, probably accepted. You got licensable music. Obviously, you got a proven track record. You're out there. But maybe you want to see, is there anything I can do to up my game? A small number of you are in that camp, I'll be honest. That's probably a small group of you that have that issue, right? The vast majority of you, and I can tell, are fitting in the first two camps, that you're just getting started, haven't pitched yet, or you've already been rejected, or you're in a library or two, but you're not seeing tons and tons of results. That's primarily who this boot camp is aimed at, the first two camps, okay? Obviously, if you're doing well, feel free to join. You probably will learn something. Maybe learn about a new company. You can never stop learning for sure. But I definitely need to keep this focused on, I think, the people that are struggling the most and trying to figure out exactly how to get their foot in the door for the right companies and producing the right kinds of music. So, Art, you like the interview with Tom, with Geyer, with Brandex? Awesome. Yeah, that interview really did well. I think you guys got a lot of insights. And it's so funny when I do these interviews with the CEOs. It happened with Russell, too, of Extreme. Happened with Tom. We have our recorded interview, and it's awesome, and it's amazing. You guys have a great time. And then we end it, and I say, thank you so much for your time. And a lot of times we just kind of chat, for a couple of minutes after the interview, and we just sort of continue talking shop and talking this and that. And Tom had so many gems that came out after we hit stop recording, right? And we're just kind of chatting. I think we talked for like another hour after the interview. So we basically were talking for like 2 hours straight. So many amazing stories and gems. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I wish I could have recorded all that too and put it out. But obviously, we didn't. And that was just a private conversation. So I won't share the details. But it's just so funny how, a lot of times putting the red light on and putting the camera on, you can get some great stuff. But I have found, and that's what I think our Sync Connect Zoom calls sometimes have the best insights, is yes, it's recorded, but it's not a publicly available video. It's not going to, I'm not releasing those on YouTube. Those are only for Sync Connect members. And when you get a little bit of that intimacy, a little bit of that privacy, you can get some stuff. Like we were getting some numbers from some of these library CEOs and people that are working with trailers that I don't hear shared often. Like most people are pretty tight-lipped about what their sync fees are, what they've earned. We were hearing some numbers from some of these. I was like, wow, just letting it go, because I think there's a sort of an element there of trust of like, this is not for the public. This is for a small group of people. It's going to stay here behind this membership area. It's not going to be released publicly. So I think there's some element to that where the closer you guys can get to people where you're not in a public environment, you could just be talking directly on a Zoom call or a phone call or an email or something like that. Sometimes you get really, really juicy stuff that you can't always get directly from these public conversations. Not to say the public conversations aren't valuable. They obviously are. But you guys have probably had that experience as well. With private conversations, sometimes that's where the best tidbits really come out, Your bucket too, Aaron. All right, cool. You're in a library too. Wanting to up your placements or up your income. Sounds good. Can't we just link Zoom or OBS through your YouTube live stream input in the future? Zoom? I mean, if I was doing this through Zoom, yes, but I'm not. I'm doing OBS. I don't think OBS has a feature for me to add a third party in. Yeah, if I did that through Zoom, Yella, for sure. And then if I just had like kind of like a Zoom link that I only sent out to a few of you guys that would want to join me, for sure, we could do it that way. Yeah, but I just do this really down and dirty. I have OBS open. I'm just streaming directly through it into YouTube right now. It's just the fastest way for me to get things up and running. Hey, what's up, Ben? Good to see you. Glad you're enjoying the conversation. And Ben, you're in a couple of different companies, right? At this point, 2 or 3 different libraries. I know you're kind of building up your your catalog right now and getting things going. So Ben is a very, very, very talented orchestral trailer composer. So very, very on his way as well, but definitely in the trenches and in that sort of struggle point of, all right, you got to keep the momentum up and just keep pushing things forward. So the other challenge of coming onto these live streams is not having a really full list of things I want to talk about, but trying to still stay on here for a full hour. So I'm going to require and rely more on you guys right now in the chat to give me topics. So I feel like I just hit the end. I don't know what else to talk about, but I don't want to just bail because I don't have anything to talk about. That's not a good enough reason. I committed to an hour. I want to stay here an hour. So please help me out, guys. Give me some topics. Give me some questions. Something you're struggling with, something you're curious about. Would love to have something else to just talk about as we hang out here for a little bit, because I really want to keep this going to warm up my voice even more if I possibly can. But okay, Aaron's saying he wants to up his quality, and your output isn't quite up to par yet. Okay, yeah, Aaron, were you the one that was saying, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, saying that you were struggling a little bit with perfectionism, not really sure that your tracks were sort of like at the quality that you really wanted them to be, and maybe like not finishing them because not feeling that. I remember that question. I don't know if that was from you or not, but a very, very common thing that a lot of us deal with which is that perfectionism. So no one mentioned AI. Yeah, nothing really with AI, Yella, that I have been noticing. There's always something with AI. I wouldn't say nothing, but nothing major that really impacts us yet. I did get notified that Ed Newton Rex, who's with Fairly Trained, I had him on my channel. I think he's probably our strongest advocate for requiring consent for AI training on copyrighted music. He's going to be giving a TED talk next week. He's very, very at the forefront of all this stuff. In fact, if you guys want to follow this stuff, probably he's better than anybody else. He's got an X account. I don't think he's on YouTube that I know of. I don't think so. I think X, Twitter, whatever, is probably the best place. But he's giving talks. He's out there. He's advocating. He's putting together some public signatures and stuff. So he's somebody that I kind of rely upon just to kind of find out what's the latest with it. But no, there's no updates on those lawsuits as far as I know. I don't know if you guys feel this too. I definitely find that, like, as time has gone on, I just, like, this morning got an email from another company. They want to, I get them like every week now, of like somebody that wants to sponsor like a video of mine or partner with me or whatever. Say, hey, we love what you're doing on your channel. Of course, there's nothing specific or, it's kind of like the worst way to approach companies. That's the way I tell you guys don't do it, which is just sort of like copy and paste an email and send it out to a bunch of people. That's what a lot of these companies do, because you can tell like they haven't done their research, because they're like, we love your channel, especially on the topics of AI and music. We are an AI creation company that makes full songs from prompting them. You can share it with your audience and we can do a revenue split or whatever they were offering. I'm like, you obviously didn't watch a lot of my videos, because you would know that that's probably not the kind of product that I would want to use. It's definitely not the kind of product that a lot of my followers would want to use. And it's the main technology that we're kind of concerned about being replaced by right now. So, but the more and more I hear about new AI companies, new music companies, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's you get jaded, but I also know that I have a bias against the sort of unlicensed data that a lot of these companies are using. I just go, yawn, not interested. Okay, wow, you can do this, you can do that now. I think it was like Suno or Udio. I think it was Suno now. They have like, when you prompt it, they'll also generate like a video to go along with your song. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't know. I think it's just like, I remember a year ago though, that was a big deal. I remember seeing like AI generated video and pictures and music. It was like, oh my gosh, blowing your mind. And it's so crazy how quickly I have adopted to that and adapted to it, to go like, yeah, of course AI makes video that's like almost indistinguishable from reality. Of course they make whatever. And of course it's music. I don't know. I'm not excited about it. I'm not interested in it. It's just kind of like, I don't know, in one ear out the other, kind of like whatever, don't care. I don't know if that's just me, my bias. I don't know if you guys are feeling that way as well, just kind of being a little bit jaded by it and not really interested or excited by it. I don't know. It's like, I think what it is like, the more I see these startups use AI products for things that are not really necessarily, I feel, aiding and enhancing our creativity, but used as a substitute for our creativity. Maybe that's my bias. It just kind of turns me off to it right off the bat. And obviously Suno and Udio aren't really necessarily in a high regard in my mind right now. So, but yeah, no updates on the AI stuff yet, meaningful. But I'll definitely, once we have some updates on those lawsuits, those are the big ones that the RIAA and the major labels have put out there. That's the one for sure we need to keep our eyes on to see what implications that has for us moving forward. Yep. And Ben, you're in bucket number 2 for sure. Yep. Okay. So Aaron, you weren't the one doing that, but yeah, you were the one, but you're, yeah, struggling with the quality. So hopefully, Aaron, we can get a track of yours reviewed during it. Can't make you a guarantee, but if you show up, you'll have more of a chance of that happening than not showing up. But for a select number of people, we're going to try to do it. And by the way, how it's going to work is once we review one of the companies, the production music libraries, and show you some of their music, and I tell you exactly what type or types of subgenres I feel would do well with them, I'm going to ask only those of you that have music that are close or in those subgenres to put a track in the link in the chat for us to potentially review. Okay, so I don't want just everybody with any kind of music just throwing a link up there. That's obviously going to overwhelm everything. So I'm going to try to really have you guys a little bit disciplined on that, to only pitch a track if you feel like you have music that could be licensable in the right style of music in what I'm sort of coaching and recommending for each one of the companies. So if we have some extra time, maybe on the 5th day, or if maybe the 4th day. 4th day would be probably more the open day. I think that's where we're going to have Todd join us. That would be a day where you can just pitch, whatever you got, and we'll see if we can get to it. But it'd be kind of the honor system. Like once you get a review, we ask that you don't pitch another one. But we're not going to have a very, scientific way for these reviews. We're going to just make sure we're going to try to sample as many people's tracks as we can. Probably go through different sections of the tracks. And for all of you guys that are going to be watching, we want you to be able to go like, oh, okay, I think I understand the formula now. Like these types of tracks that have these issues tend to not work well for sync. These types of tracks that do this and this and this tend to do better. This sort of element of structuring a track seems to be a smarter approach. These types of instruments do better, et cetera, et cetera. So throughout the 5 days, we're gonna review probably close to 100 tracks, I'm going to guess. I mean, it might not be that high. It's 50 to 75 maybe, but it's going to be a lot. I think we're going to get through a lot of tracks. And within a week, you should be able to pick out and extract some sort of pattern recognition for what kinds of music do well, what elements of music really do well with production, and what don't. And I think if you guys follow us, especially if you show up every single day, you absolutely get that. So make sure you do sign up. Right down below, there's a link. You just put your email address, and we send you the Zoom links immediately. You can have them all right now, but we'll also email them to you every single day in the morning, right before we go live, which, by the way, again, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time, every single day, Monday through Friday next week, starting October 21st. Angie, hey, I'm building my catalog, want to get some placements. I need to up my quality as well. Would upgrading my audio interface help? Not really. I mean, audio interfaces are important, but it's not going to really help up your quality. So I don't know what you're using now or what you're going to go to, but that's just going to help. Basically, I don't know. Do you have an issue right now with like you're not able to hear things properly? Do you have like a latency, a lagging problem? Like audio interface is just about your computer and your MIDI keyboard and speakers all connecting and working seamlessly. So it's important for sure. If you have like a lag or something, that's going to get in your way. But it's not going to make the biggest difference. The biggest difference is going to be your ears, your sensibilities, your emotional expression through your music, however it is you want to do that. That's going to make all the difference. And there's no substitute. Like, even though we're going to show you guys a lot next week in the boot camp, I want to make sure you guys are also clear. There's no course, there's no boot camp, there's nothing you can do on the internet that'll make you a better producer. Nothing. The only thing that makes you a better producer is you sitting in your studio producing music. That's it. That's the only thing that's going to make you better. Okay. So you got to actually put in the work. You actually have to take what you learn and go put it into action and A/B compare your way into better results. And that's the hardest thing about this, is that we are so inundated by, tutorials and boot camps, and all these sort of like people online giving everybody advice on how to succeed. But what can happen is we just sort of get addicted to the education, but we forget that the education is not actually where the videos and the tutorials, that's not actually where the education happens. That's where you discover kind of new information, that kind of thing. Let's call it that. It's information discovery. I think true education is doing stuff. Like, you got to do stuff. You got to actually compose music with your hands. You got to actually play with your DAW. You got to listen to reference tracks. You got to A/B compare what you're doing with there. So nothing we can do is going to give you a career. I want to make sure you guys are very clear. If you think you're going to have a career because you go to a boot camp online, don't sign up for this boot camp. You're going to have some bad you're going to have a big disappointment by Friday, okay? That's not what we do. What we're going to do is try to get you motivated, excited, educated, learn a lot about this kind of stuff. But at the end, by Friday, it's on you. Like, what do you do with this information that you have? What are you going to do with this new knowledge, with this new insight? Now getting some access to some professional feedback, all the things we're going to do throughout the year, hearing directly from myself and from Todd, other people that have been working in this business for 16 plus years. You're going to have all that now swirling around your head, but it's all useless unless you do stuff. You actually put it into action. So I want to make sure that those of you that show up have the right expectation in place, that it's just about you're getting data on a 2D screen. That's what you're getting next week, okay? You're not getting a career. Nobody's doing work for you. Your music won't magically be better by the end of the week. None of that's going to be happening. But you're going to have a vision. You're going to have hopefully some confidence. You're going to hopefully have a direction, some clarity on where you can go forward, putting some stuff into action to get better at your craft and get better at your game, right? Ben's got a question, and thank you guys. Some great questions and comments. You guys are bailing me out. I was struggling about 10 minutes ago, and you guys are saving me. Thank you so much. Ben has a question. I'm thinking a lot of main trailer publishers have multiple composers on an album for the briefs. Very different from TV. What are your thoughts about that? Quality versus quantity. Totally normal, yeah. So for trailer publishers, for sure, they're going to have maybe 10 tracks, 12 tracks. Yella right here on the chat, he did some collaborations with Mike Giannotto, which, by the way, Yella, I don't think I told you, but I'm going to be reviewing one of your guys' tracks as one of my sort of sync track breakdowns here on the channel pretty soon. And the reason why is because it was a great example of how you combine electro, like synthwave, with traditional trailer music. So stay tuned for that, guys. It's a really, really good one. But it happens all the time. It happened in my career. I think only maybe 2 or 3 albums I ever released in my entire career where I was 100% the composer on the entire album. Most of the time, I'm 4 tracks of it, 5 tracks of it. Somebody other, takes the rest of it. Todd, who's going to join us next week, he and I shared a couple of the albums way back in the day when we first got started. We were both kind of the primary rock producers on the label that we worked with. So we shared many of the albums. So it's very, very common, very normal, not a big deal at all. And can create some great, healthy competition between the few of you there on the label, because I noticed for sure my tracks were not as good as Todd's. I noticed that his were louder, more heavy hitting, more impactful, louder, all these kinds of things that I needed to address sooner, and I didn't. And I paid a price for that because my earlier tracks didn't necessarily fly off the shelf as much as I was hoping they would. So hopefully you guys can take and learn, from my mistakes, and don't do that to yourselves, and just make sure you take the time needed to make sure your tracks are ready to go, and fix the issues you need to fix so that you can just move forward and have a better start to your career than I did, and a lot of people sometimes do. Aaron saying Lander sent me an email about AI composing, and I recoiled. Still haven't looked into it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what they were talking about AI composing. Lander definitely has an AI mixing, mastering plugin, but they've been around forever with that one, so that's not necessarily new. So how much is it? It's just free, Alex, to join us next week. Absolutely free. You can just click on the link in the description box below. Free for everybody. But please do join us live. Like I said, I will broadcast the first session Monday here on YouTube, but Tuesday through Friday, I don't think there's going to be any replays and any recordings. So you do need to show up every single day, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time, to get the benefit of it. But it's absolutely free. Art's saying, I hope, asking if hoping that I'm going to start a sync agency. As long as you've been in the industry and a sync, you're definitely worthy. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Very good reason why I don't want to start a library or an agency or any of that kind of stuff. I don't like pitching. I don't like schmoozing. And the reason why I know how hard that's going to be is because I talk to library owners every single month, multiple ones, in our platforms, right? With Sync Connect for the last year and a half, we have been every single month jumping on a Zoom call with CEOs and asking them what is it they do and what does their job entail and what does it look like on a day-to-day basis. I also know a lot of them personally. I've had a lot of private conversations. Obviously, we had our Sync Up event, 2 of them where we had CEOs flying in, and I'm having dinner with them and lunch with them. I know how much work goes into running a sync agency and a production music, and I want nothing to do with that. I'll just be honest. I think it's for some people. Some people got it in them. Other people don't. And if you guys were at Sync Up this last year, you know that Trevor Llewellyn of Get It Done Music put a very compelling and pretty black pilling presentation on exactly how it is to run a production music library. I don't know, Yella, you were obviously there, and Alex, I don't think you were there this year, but I think you were streaming it. But he kept it real with you guys, let you know this is what you can expect, this is how much is going to kick your butt, this is what you have to deal with. And I'm so glad, after all these years, I sort of had a gut instinct that it wasn't right for me. And then when I watched this presentation, he kind of just stamped it for me, and it was like, yep, I made the right choice. No thanks, not interested, don't want anything to do with that. Definitely some money in it for sure. And I think at my situation, I think it is financially, it's a foolish thing for me not to do it, because I've got all the talent. I've got so many producers and composers I get to select from. I've got a lot of relationships. I think I think it could work out really, really well financially. I think it would actually work out. Not interested. It's like some things in life are not worth the money. And for me, the amount of stress and schmoozing and flying around and whining and dining and playing political games, which you do have to play if you're in a production music library world. I mean, you're basically working in Hollywood, okay? That's really what you're doing. I'm done. I don't live in Hollywood anymore. I did for a little while. I went to the parties. I schmoozed. I went to the studios. I did all that for a while, and I want nothing to do with it. That's just my very quick answer for why I'm not going to start my own agency or production music library. I mean, I guess never say never, but I mean, I've been doing this now since 2016. I've been on YouTube. Haven't done it since, right? So we're now 8 years in. So I can't imagine I'm going to start it at this point, but it is an opportunity. I mean, it is literally just sitting there. I think it would come together fairly well, but no thanks. Yella saying he uses a mic that's $70 and works for the big players. Gear doesn't matter. Your skills, how to use that gear is what makes or breaks a track. I would agree with that as well. Links for the music. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Whatever you guys, when we do our Zoom calls, as long as I can click on it and it immediately loads. Anything that doesn't immediately load, we're just skipping. So double check your links, guys. Just make sure that if you're going to get a track submitted for us, that you're going to definitely need to make sure that it works. There's no passwords or anything like that. So it can be Disco, Dropbox, Google. As long as it's streamable, I'm not going to download anything. Just make sure that it works and it's a publicly available link, so I don't have to, jump through hoops to basically get access to it. But we'll talk about that on Monday when you guys jump on the Zoom call. But you got to make sure you sign up. You got to click on that link in the description box. Sign up for sure. Make sure you guys get there and get those links so that you can actually be there. So, Rajat, hey, what constitutes an original composition which is viable for sync? Can I use samples or use a riff from Contact Guitar Instrument? Very new to this. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining and welcome to my channel, Rajat, and welcome to Sync. There's two questions here. There's kind of two topics. Number one, what's legally allowed to be used? Okay, so probably stuff that comes with Contact Guitar Instruments, like if it's a riff already, probably legally could be sampled and cleared. I think Contact is pretty open with that. A lot of their libraries, double check that. Don't take my word for it, but most times you can use, most samples and most instruments, VSTs, in commercial senses. That's why they want you to buy it. They want you to be able to use it for commercial purposes. I say don't use them, especially if it's a recognizable, easy riff. You can click one button on your, keyboard and it just starts playing it. Because for a couple of reasons. Number one, that means anybody else on planet Earth can use the same riff, right? So who are you anymore? Do you have any original voice, or do you have anything unique to say, or do you have any sort of personality that you're bringing to this industry? And that's important. We are making background music. Let's not get it twisted. We're not the stars of the show. But you got to bring something that's unique and original and something that really is of you. And hitting a button on your keyboard where a riff just starts playing is not you. That's Contact, right? Or whoever created the library. So I would say you could legally use it probably and be cleared to use it, but I still would not use anything like that. I would say you definitely want to use as much of your own original creativity as you possibly can. So I don't know your chops. I don't know how well you feel you can compose original music. If you're 100% relying on loops, like you're like, all right, I'm going to use this loop for my chord progression, this loop for my lead, this loop for my drums, don't get into this business. Just don't do it. I'm just telling you right now, you will not be competitive enough. There are going to be so many pitfalls you'll run up against because people are going to want things to be changed and adjusted. And if you're relying on loops that are already preset and you can't change things and you don't have the ability to do that, you'll face a lot of problems in this business. So rely 100% as much as you possibly can on your own originality. If you want to use some like percussion loops, fine. That's not the end of the deal. End of the day, it's not a big deal. If you want to use, and you definitely should be using transitional effects, risers, strings, swooshes, drops, breaks, booms, impacts, that kind of thing. Definitely, you're going to use those things all day long. You can use Splice for that all day long. But as much as you can actually compose your own music, your own chord progressions, your own leads, melodies. That's why I'm not also a big fan of these AI, text it, type it, whatever, and it generates you a chord progression or a lead. Because I like, even if it's 100% original, even if it's like, no, nobody else can really, it's statistically unlikely for somebody else to create it. It's still not coming from you, right? It's coming from some computer algorithm spitting something out. And I don't know. To me, it's like, maybe it's a little bit more of a purist point of view on myself of saying, do as much as you can from yourself. And again, there's no shortcut to that. You have to just A/B compare. You have to compose. You have to work. You have to put some hours into your home studio. So hopefully that answers that question. I know it's maybe not what you wanted to hear, but I think it's the truth. If you're 100% on loops, this is just not the right business for you. So, hey, Chris, good to see you, man. I haven't heard from you in a bit, man. How's everything going? I'm doing well. Yeah, Chris is also an OG in production music. Chris, how long have you been around? If you're still with us, buddy. Sorry, I'm getting your comment here a little bit late. Chris, you've been around probably as long as I have. I mean, I'm 16 years now, but I don't remember. I remember when I first launched my YouTube channel, he's also got a great YouTube channel that talks about production music. You guys should follow him and subscribe to his channel. But yeah, you were one of the first guys out there too, Chris, kind of just talking about how tough the business is. You've kept it real. I remember a few of the videos I've seen of yours, just being honest about like, yeah, how hard it can be. So I do appreciate you sharing that honesty, man. Laurie Jane, hey, or Jean, sorry, I'm getting that wrong. Not exactly sure what trailer music is. What makes it distinctive? Is there a particular definition? Trailer music generally is big, epic, orchestral music. It can have different elements included with it, but every time you go to the movies or, you see an announcement on YouTube or something like that, where it's just like, oh my gosh, this big, movie's coming or a video game's about to get released, and it's just dun, 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 type in the word trailer on YouTube and you'll see tons and tons of examples. It doesn't matter. Just put 2024 trailer. It'll either be video games or movies, and you could just go through and watch them all. So these days it's big, it's larger than life, huge drums, big strings, there's and also trailerizing, like basically covers of popular songs, is becoming a big thing. So it can go in a few different directions, but I would say it's traditionally, if you want to just generalize it, it's big, epic, orchestral music. That's really what trailer music really is. Uh, okay. Yes, and Young, I think I talked about that. Percussion loops, absolutely. I think percussion loops ever get anybody into trouble. I use them all the time in my career. For shakers and for drums, especially for Latin music, where it's like I don't know exactly how to perform a Latin beat. I can use a lot of Latin percussion, but again, my lead guitar better be me playing it or me programming it. My lead elements, my chord progressions, that kind of a thing. I better be composing that. But percussion, percussion is one of those things. There, I think you guys will be safe using those things because they're kind of like the flavorings you're sprinkling on top. They're not the main course, right? Your leads, your melodies, your chord progressions, and usually your drums. Those are the main course, and your bass, of course. Those are the main course ingredients, and the percussion is kind of like the spice, right? It's just kind of the embellishment. So. Yell is saying also trailer music is also comparable to EDM, so very compressed and loud. That's another great point. Yes, it's always loud, and it's always as loud as it possibly can be, absurdly loud. Yes, and also for Dozier saying that you should chop up your samples, pitch shift them, time shift them, distort them, combine them with other things. Yeah, basically if you're going to use anything melodic with a like a lead melody or a lead loop, get extremely creative with how you reinvent that sucker, so it almost doesn't sound recognizable from the original. It's definitely, and that's one thing. That's one way you can bring yourself into the mix, right? It's somebody else's lead melody, but you chopped it up, you messed with it, you distorted it, you swapped it, you reversed it, you did all these crazy things, so you made it your own. So certainly that would be one acceptable way to do that. But you better make it unrecognizable from the original for sure. Oh, Chris, you've been since 2010. So yeah, you were only just 2 years after me. So yeah, Chris, definitely you qualify, man. You are OG. You are certified. So yeah, long game. It's not easy. You have to love it to do it. That's what holds me down to it. So awesome, man. Very cool. We got some conversations about orchestrator. What's orchestrator? So yeah, make sure for those of you guys that are watching now and have not signed up yet, make sure you guys do click on the link. It's in the description box. It'll take you 2 seconds. You basically just pop in your email email address into that little field. Click claim my spot. And the next page, you're going to get all the Zoom links, so you can just keep them there, bookmark it if you want to. But I also will email you them immediately. And then every single day, Monday through Friday next week, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time, I'll email you the Zoom link so you can jump on board and just and hang with us. So I got a great presentation. First presentation is going to be a sort of A to Z on my overall strategy for working with production music libraries. I also want to make sure that's clear. I remember last year, that was some feedback I got from some of the members of like, well, I signed up for this thing, and then you were just talking about libraries. I thought we were going to talk about working with supervisors and directly pitching to X, Y, or Z and other people. And I was like, okay, maybe from day one on the first presentation, I need to be very clear. This whole week is about working with production music libraries. That's what I did. That's what I coach my students to do. That's the whole focus of what I'm going to be doing. And I have a pretty convincing, compelling argument, I think, why submitting to the supervisors is kind of not the most ideal approach in this business. We can talk about that. But I also want you guys also to know, if you're subscribed to this channel, that's what we talk about. That's the approach. That's what I encourage you guys to do. It's what I've done. It's what I know the best, okay? So I want to make sure that we don't get through the week and people are like, well, where was the part about pitching to a popular supervisor? It's like, that's not something that I coach people to do, encourage people to do for many reasons. But make sure you guys are very clear on that. This is really about partnering with production music libraries. If you're not interested in doing that, then this is not the right boot camp for you. If you're interested in potentially exploring that world with us, that's what you'll learn about. All right, so, okay, orchestrator is someone, oh, are you talking about, I thought it was like a plugin or something. Okay, it's like a job title, somebody who puts your MIDI on the sheet music for the musicians. Got it. Okay, thanks, Yella. Ignorant moment for me. So it should be, man, that orchestrator, that sounds like a great plugin idea. Like, I like the sound of that. I don't know. It sounds like it could do something cool. I might have to go register that. Art saying, when a submission gets accepted, how many times does it occur where they may want to change something on the queue? Oh, it may want you to change something on the queue. I can just tell you from my experience, not often. I had a few where somebody, some of the libraries I've worked with where they said, yeah, we love it, but could you just, this lead is a little bit harsh, or, maybe this lead instrument you put in there isn't the right choice. Can you just swap it out with something else? I had one cue in all of my career that they wanted me to make a EDM dance song very close to, I can't remember who it was at this point, but back in the early mid 2010s, when dance music, EDM music was all the rage, I was making kind of like, not ripping off, but sort of like following in the footsteps of some of the popular artists that were making. I think it was a Sean Kingston song or something like that. And I turned it in, and they're like, this is a little too close to the original of what we see what you were trying to do there, and we think you got to switch up the chords, the notes, and probably the rhythm. Switch it up a little bit more. You're a little too close to it. So I did kind of step on the toes a bit too much, and the library just said, like, just basically change it up a little bit. So I changed it up and threw it back at them. They're like, all right, cool. You're safe now. So other than that, once you sort of get the hang of production music, you're not going to get a lot. Yella, maybe you can answer that. How many times from all your music you've been pitching to the companies, how many times do they say, change this, change that? Could you put a percentage on that? Is it less than 15? Is it more than 15? I'm curious how much pushback you're getting, but I didn't get a ton in my career. It was usually like, if I'm providing something that's licensable, I'm passing their bar for what they feel could be placed. And so there's usually not a need for a lot of feedback and a lot of, do this or do that. It can happen. And every library is different. There might be libraries that are, only releasing a small number of tracks, and they really will spend a lot of time pushing back and get you a lot of feedback. So it kind of depends on the company that you're working with, for sure. Hey, Big Blue, good to see you. New to my channel, been in the production music world for a while. Do you ever find yourself writing in a genre that you don't really enjoy, but you do for lots of opportunities? Yeah, that was kind of like where I was hitting a lot of burnout. Big Blue, Barry, good to see you. Welcome to the channel. You can do that for a while, and after a while, it's like, I don't want to make another set of pension cues or another set of exciting EDM. It almost doesn't matter what it is. Swagger rock, like all these different styles of music I can get excited about. Can I get excited about it 5 weeks in a row, 10 weeks in a row, and constantly just, all right, here we go again, So it's a challenging part about this business, and you definitely are going to, hopefully, I hope it's a problem you guys all run into where you have so many opportunities in front of you to get placements, but it's going to require that you have to like, all right, you might not be in the mood for another party till 3 a.m. EDM anthem track, but you got a reality show that's like, we're going to put this in our show or competition show or whatever, as long as you get it to us by 5 p.m. on Friday. And so are you going to pass that up because you're just not in the mood? Or are you going to just like, all right, let me just go to the gym, work out, let me go run around, let me go like do something to get myself in a different sort of headspace. It's a challenge for sure, but there are definitely going to be times where you have to kind of figure that out for yourself of like, how do you get yourself in the mood for these opportunities? So, and there are other times where you're like, I just can't do it. I know there's an opportunity. I know there's great things. That's where I was in 2016, which kind of launched this channel, launched everything I'm doing. Was I can't do another set of whatever, EDM cues, intention cues. I know it's guaranteed to go in there. I know that my placements are going up and up and up. This is great. How could I ever complain about this, right? For those of you that are watching this and you're not there yet, that sounds like a crazy person's, reaction to that kind of opportunity coming at you. All I can say is just wait till you're there, right? Just wait till you're sitting in that seat and you'll know what I'm talking about. It's hard. It is really hard because at some point there is just hard work that has to be done in this business. There's great times, there's great, awesome success, and there's great points of creative freedom in this industry. But there's also a part of it, you're here to serve the needs of other people. And so there's a reality to that. So I wish I could tell you the quick fix to it, but there is none. We all kind of have to figure out our own way to do that. I will say for Big Blue, I'm glad you're here, and I hope you keep chiming in and keep joining our chats and joining our live streams, because I think one thing that we can do for each other is just kind of like create a little bit more community to go like, hey, I'm feeling a little bit burned out on this. I'm feeling a little bit, stressed. I'm feeling a little bit not excited about this business. Anybody else feel this way? Just getting, some kinship and some sort of friendship going with other people of like, yeah, I definitely have been there before. I've struggled with that. Absolutely. You're not crazy. You're not ungrateful to be struggling with that. We've all been there. So if you can kind of create community with other people that have been there going through that, and also more importantly, I would say, it sounds like you've been at it for a while, Big Blue, is you become yourself kind of a mentor, right? You become somebody that other people can look up to. You can help other people who are struggling with their motivation or uncertainty. And you just feel really good about that because you're giving back to the next generation of people that are kind of following in your footsteps. So I get a lot of value from that. I mean, I really do love knowing that people are taking this advice and putting it into action and getting their careers run, so the days that I'm not feeling that, thrilled about life and I get an email like that, it just completely lights things up. So I think we just help each other out. That's really the best we can do at this point because there's no guarantees that things are always going to work out great for us, right? All right. Okay. See, I'm trying to catch up on the chat here. Okay. Hey, Laura, good to see you. Smirk, good to see you. Yes, appreciate it. If you guys would hit the like button, that'd be awesome. All right, we got a question here from, and we're over an hour, so I'll take a couple more questions, guys. But I feel like I achieved my goal today. Thank you, guys. You guys really made this possible and bailed me out when I was about to give up halfway through it. But yeah, I can feel it. My voice is much more worn out now, which is good. It's what I wanted. I wanted to get to that stress point so I can build up my vocal cords for next week. Dozier has a question. Do you mix and master all your tracks in the box, or do you use real analog gear? All in the box. Never hired an engineer in my career. Never sent it out anywhere. I have a Mac Mini, kind of a beefed up one. I sort of upgraded it quite a bit. But most of my career was with an iMac, and I've been mixing and mastering with my Adams A7 speakers with my subwoofer my entire career. No room I've ever been in has ever been professionally acoustically treated. I am not a mixing and mastering professional. I've never hired. I should say I have mixed other people's tracks for some, money here and there, but I am not a professional mixing or mastering engineer by far. Definitely not. And you know what? Who cares? None of that matters, right? All that matters is when a library CEO hits play on your track, when you submit it to them, they go, thumbs up, let's go. That's it. They don't sit there and go, did you mix this in the box? Or did you mix this in a professionally treated room? Did you hire an external engineer? Like, none of those questions come into anybody's minds when they're listening to music. Not mine, not yours, not anybody's. I mean, maybe if something's amazing, you go like, there's no way they did this in their box or in their laptop, and maybe not. But a library CEO, all they're thinking is like, can I make money with this? Like, that's it, right? Which means, can I place this? Can I get this into a TV show? Can I pitch this to my clients? Is this relevant? Is this quality enough that I feel like for sure we could probably serve our clients with this music? That's it. They don't care if you used Fruity Loop Studio, a cracked version of it on a laptop with headphones. They don't care. They don't know. They have no idea what's going on in your process and how you do stuff. All you got to do is just make sure that the final product is licensable, marketable, quality enough, relevant for them and their clients. And that's what we're going to try to help you guys next week do. So you can do it. I think everybody can do it. There might be some exceptions to that rule, but I think a vast majority of people can learn how to mix and master their own music good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, perfection is going to get in your way, but marketable, licensable. I think people can learn how to do that. And I think if you're going to do sync licensing and definitely follow my approach, for working with production music libraries, you're going to have to. You're going to have to mix and master your stuff yourself, or at least to the best of your ability, because thinking you're going to go hire some mastering engineer every time you crank out a track and have a career doing that, forget it. It's way too expensive to do that. So, Big Blue, you started the same year as me, 2008. Had to put things on hold around 2017 to deal with some personal issues. Trying to get back in the swing of things after being away for the last few years. Cool, man. Well, welcome back. And it happens. I mean, your point of having to walk away was 2017. Mine was 2016. So we had a pretty similar experience there, actually. And mine necessarily, I don't know if I guess you can call it personal issues. It was just kind of like burnout from an industry that, I just didn't have a lot of balance in life. So for one reason or another, and Big Blue, I think you would probably agree that everybody watching here, if 2024 is the year they're going to get started, they will have their 2017 moment or 2016 moment. In my case, they're going to have that moment in the future. And so I hope they remember the stream, that it's not crazy or weird that they feel, burned out on this business from time to time. We all have to face that. So. Oh, and Alex, it starts on Monday, not tomorrow. So today's Friday. So we're going to start on Monday. And we're not going to reveal the first library until Tuesday. So I'll let you guys know on Monday what's coming up on Tuesday, what we're going to be talking about. So we'll give all those details when we get started next week. So, and Art's asking about new AI mixing and mastering platforms. I don't know about the new ones. I know that we were just talking about Lander, but they've been around forever. I've tried them. I don't know. I mean, I also know that Isotope, Ozone has an AI mastering kind of thing you can click a button on. I've used it as well. Maybe if I learned how to use it more proficiently, I would get a better result. I haven't gotten a great result yet from them. Something in terms of, I haven't gotten something that I'm like, that's better than what I can do. I haven't gotten that yet. Will we get there? Probably. I mean, at some point. I don't think that's really a horrible thing. I would actually be cool with that, to be able to click a button to take my track from, where it's at in my sort of rough mix state to a final mastered state without having to do anything other than clicking a button. I'm actually going to use that technology. That's going to be something that could, make things better for me. But again, at this point, I'm not getting that sort of quality where I'm like, yes, I feel good about that. I'm going to use the AI mastering plugin rather than my own ears. It's not, for me, it's just not there yet. But, obviously I'm biased towards my own stuff. So at some point in the future, maybe we're going to get to that point. But are they any good? Yeah, they can do the job. They can get your track louder, wider, probably a little bit more evenly compressed or evenly EQ'd, that kind of thing. I think it can definitely do that. But at the end of the day, mixing and mastering is a subjective taste, right? It's like, do you like it? It can do all these things proficiently, technically, for sure. It can do them automatically, but do you like what it does in the end? Is it giving you a musical output that you enjoy, a pleasing sort of like audio spectrum that you enjoy listening to? If the answer is yes, then great. Absolutely. So, all right, guys, I'm going to pop off here. Thank you so much for helping me get through this one. And again, last time, click on that link below. It's absolutely free. It starts this Monday, October 21st, 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Eastern time. 1 hour every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're going to basically give you guys 4 top-rated production music libraries, analyzing their websites, analyzing their catalogs, showing you what works, showing you their placements, showing you the types of music that I think would work with each one. And we could potentially get some of your tracks reviewed if you join us for these live Zoom calls next week. So it's going to be a really action-packed week. I'm excited for it. I'm getting stoked. I'm getting hyped. We already had, I think, 215 or something like that, people that have already signed up for it. So it's going to be a pretty big crowd. So secure your spot, click on the link below, and join us on Monday. Until then, you guys have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for your great questions. Talk to you all real soon.